Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Grab your coffee, or maybe something stronger, because today we're not pulling punches. We're diving into what has to be one of the most spectacular collapses of a modern nation. That's right, we're talking about South Africa, a country that once stood as the crown jewel of an entire continent, a country with the kind of infrastructure, economy and potential that made other African nations green with envy. Now reduced to a joke, a meme, a warning sign, and all thanks to 30 years, 3 whole decades of grotesque mismanagement, corruption and policy-making that makes a banana republic look like Switzerland. So before you settle in, smash that like button like Eskom smashes the grid. Subscribe so we don't vanish into digital darkness, like the lights in Johannesburg, and turn on notifications because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Let's get into it. Let's go back. 1994. The end of apartheid, the dawn of the so-called Rainbow Nation. The National Party, like it or not, handed over a country that was not only functioning, it was thriving. I'm talking about a country with an advanced industrial economy, a powerful currency, and infrastructure decades ahead of its neighbors. The rand? It was worth more than the US dollar in the early 1980s. Yes, more. That's not an exaggeration. That's history. South Africa's GDP per capita in 1994, adjusted for inflation, stood at a healthy $3,716, higher than Turkey and Poland at the time, countries that are now considered emerging European powerhouses. The economy was diverse, robust, and industrialized. The mining sector? World-class. Manufacturing? Competitive. Financial institutions? Globally respected. Let's talk Eskom, once a global model of energy efficiency. In the early 1990s, Eskom didn't just supply electricity to South Africans, it was powering 36% of the entire African continent. South Africa had such an overcapacity of electricity generation that it exported power across borders. Now, you're lucky if your microwave and fridge can run at the same time without tripping the whole block. Load shedding isn't just a nuisance anymore. It's a permanent fixture. In 2023 alone, the country experienced the worst power outages ever. That's right. Now let's talk fiscal policy. In 1994, government debt stood at just 22% of GDP. That's what responsible governance looks like. Foreign reserves were a solid $3 billion. Fast forward to 2024, national debt is a gut-wrenching 77.4% of GDP and rising. South Africa's debt-to-GDP ratio is now on par with countries like Argentina and Pakistan. You know, those famously stable economies. And of course, the rating agencies noticed. Moody's, Fitch and S&P all agree South Africa is officially junk. But don't worry, because the Minister of Finance says everything is under control. Sure, just like Eskom. Unemployment? You want a horror story? Here it is. The unemployment rate in 1994 was around 15.6%. Not ideal, but manageable. As of 2024, the official unemployment rate is 31.9%, and that's being generous. Youth unemployment? 44.6%. Nearly half of the country's young people are doing absolutely nothing. No jobs, no opportunities, no hope. It's not a youth bulge. It's a ticking time bomb. Let's talk crime because no, it's not just your imagination. It really is that bad. South Africa now has one of the highest murder rates on earth. In 2023, the murder rate stood at 45.2 per 100,000 people, 7 times the global average. That's over 27,000 murders a year. That's nearly 75 murders a day. Think about that. More South Africans are murdered annually than American soldiers killed during the entire Vietnam War, which lasted 20 years. Rape, assault, robbery. Take your pick. The South African Police Service is underfunded, undermanned, and in many cases collaborating with criminals. But don't worry, Your local metro cops are busy writing parking tickets while organized syndicates loot copper cables and hijack trucks on the highway. Priorities, right? Now let's address the elephant in the room, the white minority, the perpetual scapegoat. Every time something fails, every time a budget is blown or a department collapses, the excuse is the same: it's apartheid's fault. Really? After 30 years in power, and we're still blaming a system that ended before TikTok, the iPhone, or Google even existed? Let's talk reality. South Africa's white minority, just 7.7% of the population, still contributes 64% of all personal income tax. That's right. The same people being blamed for everything are the ones footing most of the bill. Agricultural output? 80% of the country's food still comes from white-owned farms, despite being squeezed out through endless land reform threats. And speaking of that disaster, 58 billion rands later, that's about $2.5 billion, and 90% of redistributed farms are bankrupt. That's not transformation, that's annihilation. And while we're here, let's talk BEE, or as I like to call it, blatant elite enrichment. This is the ANC's flagship policy for economic transformation. The only thing it's transformed is the bank balances of ANC-connected billionaires. A 2022 report showed that over 90% of BEE deals benefited the politically connected, while 62% of black South Africans still live on less than $2.15 per day. That's not empowerment. It's a scam. But it gets better. Not only are white businesses slapped with punitive taxes and mandatory quotas, but now even black entrepreneurs who aren't ANC aligned are being pushed out. Because in the new South Africa, success isn't just discouraged, it's punished unless you're part of the inner circle. Infrastructure. What infrastructure? Roads falling apart, trains hijacked, looted, or simply vanished. Water? 40% of the country's water treatment facilities are dysfunctional, and in places like the Eastern Cape, tap water is a luxury, if it runs at all. Potholes, they've practically become a national symbol. You could start hosting fishing tournaments in some of them. Even education, once a point of national pride, is circling the drain. South African students ranked last out of 57 countries in a 2023 International Reading Literacy Assessment for 10-year-olds. 81% of grade 4 learners can't read for meaning in any language. But we keep pouring billions into a department that seems more focused on indoctrination than education. And here's the bitter cherry on top, the skills exodus. Over 1.6 million South Africans, many of them highly skilled white professionals, have fled since 1994. That's your engineers, doctors, scientists, entrepreneurs, all gone. And why wouldn't they leave? Who wants to pay 45% income tax just to live in fear, keep the lights on with a generator and get blamed for everything? Meanwhile, ANC ministers fly business class to international conferences to talk about transformation while their departments collapse at home. Ramaphosa? Busy selling us dreams of a renewed ANC while load shedding slices the economy to ribbons. Malema? Still shouting about seizing land without compensation like that's going to grow a single cabbage. Spoiler alert, it won't. And guess what? The rest of Africa is laughing. Rwanda has lower corruption. Botswana has better governance. Ghana is attracting tech investment. We were supposed to lead, and now we're being lapped. The ANC didn't just drop the ball, they spiked it into the ground, lit it on fire, and then blamed apartheid for the ashes. They inherited a golden goose and managed to strangle it while auctioning off the feathers. So to the white South Africans who are still here, still working, still building, still farming, still funding, you're not the villains of this story. You're the last thread holding this whole mess together. You're the unsung heroes in a country too proud to admit it and too broken to thank you. If this breakdown lit a fire under you, here's what you do. Smash that like button like you're smashing corruption. Hit subscribe so we can keep pumping out the facts they'd rather you didn't hear. turn on notifications because the truth needs a voice. And yeah, let those ads play, or better yet, hit up super thanks or become a member so we can keep shining a light in this engineered darkness. Share this with every person who still thinks the ANC is about liberation and not looting. Leave a comment below. I read every single one. Until next time, stay smart, stay loud, and stay absolutely unapologetically furious. Peace out.